"Are you crazy?" cried the garage manager. His shop housed dozens of vehicles. He had never expected Sir Topham Hatt to come asking for this one.
"I know he can do it," said Sir Topham Hatt with feeling. "Now, will you take me to him?"
The manager reluctantly opened the garage door. He reeled the chain like it was the rope to a noose, and he was Sodor's executioner. This couldn't be a good idea.
"Hello, George,"
said Topham brightly, his back straight and his hands braced calmly in his pockets.
"Hatt," George rolled his eyes. "What are you doing here? I thought your precious railway board was done with me." "They are," he confessed. "But I know what you're capable of, George, and I don't think there's anyone else on this island who can help me." "It must be some job," sneered the roller. "Indeed," Topham smiled. "George the Steamroller, how would you like to save the island of Sodor?"
Henry was the one to take George from Ballyhoo to Brendam. He had insisted on being the one to do it. The green engine had helped to build the power plant after all, and now that it had gone into meltdown, he had to help set it right.
"Whoa, whoa, 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 slow down, Green Giant," hollered George. "I'm used to going like 5 miles an hour, not 50. Time is of the essence. If we don't get there soon, the consequences could be—"
Oh, Henry felt faint. He couldn't even think about it.
"Just shut your eyes if you're frightened." "I'm not scared. I'm motion sick."
But George didn't finish the thought. Something else came out instead. Henry arrived at the plant with a greasy black stain on the back of his tender. His indignity overpowered his urgency, if only for the moment. George was green anyway, so it was hard to tell, but he was obviously queasy.
"Where's the fire?"
slurred George as he backed down the ramp and off the flatbed. He nearly fell off. He was still drooling tar. "That's our expert," quivered Dr. Quincy. He was wearing a protective aluminum suit. Everybody was. "He can barely drive straight."
"Though his aim is impeccable," moaned Henry.
George rolled up to the site. It had been marked out with flags before his arrival.
Let's see. We need to lay gravel here, about a foot over there. Fill that divot. Yeah, I can get it done all right. "We have 2 hours maximum before that thing goes off,"
said the plant manager, sounding rather muffled from within his smothering silver outfit.
2 hours? I can get it done in 1.
The authorities all looked to each other anxiously, but George was totally calm as he set to work.
"Are you sure about this, sir?" whispered Henry meekly. "We could have called Buster." "No, we couldn't have. You'll see why."
"Either way, we had best get you out of here," and he eyed his controller nervously. He was wearing a silver hazmat suit, just like everybody else. It looked awfully uncomfortable in there.
"You can go if you like, but I'm staying right here until I know my island is safe."
Henry's lip quivered. His face stiffened gallantly.
"Right then, so will I."
Soon it was time for George to lay the road, and lay it he did, at an infinitesimally slow pace. "Is he even moving?" flailed the Minister of State. "We've got to hurry this along."
"You can't," George began slowly. "Rush."
And a few feet later, in just as many minutes, he finished, "Art." And so they waited. They watched George closely, but he didn't pay them any mind. His gaze was focused on the main entrance to the facility. Every few minutes he got a few feet closer, which meant he got a better look. He could see steam rising out of the smokestacks at an alarming rate, and red lights blinking rapidly inside the building. But that wasn't what struck him. What struck him were the noises he was beginning to hear. They were quiet groans at first, metal rending and bowing, holding for now but threatening to burst soon. The furious hiss of steam out of vents that had been designed for a light simmer. But the closer George got, the more clearly he could hear the mechanical howls of the core. And when he was almost to the door, he began to understand them. Fry them all!
Jeez Louise,
George muttered in amazement.
he's pissed!
Who is? Asked the driver in a startled tone. George just stared down the corridor that led to the core. It wasn't far.
It won't do no good,
called George.
Believe me, I've been there.
Who are you talking to? Pleaded the driver. A loud, tinny growl rattled through the facility. I'm done. George could feel his roller clanking. Nothing ever shook him. But this... He clanked over the threshold as he rolled the last of the asphalt flat. He was halfway into the building now.
Road's done. I'm going in.
What? Cried the minister. You're just the steamroller. We have lorries too. But Sir Topham Hatt put his hand on the minister's shoulder and stopped him.
Let him go.
Are you loony? That roller is a loose cannon, a hothead.
That's exactly why he should be in there,
insisted Sir Topham Hatt, and he calmly explained. And so George disappeared into the plant, leaving a perfectly level road behind him. The steam within the power plant was so thick, George and his driver could barely see. It fogged up the visor on the driver's hazmat suit. George squinted, trying to make the shape of the reactor ahead. He knew the core had to be close now. He could hear his screams.
Feel pain. Who's they, buddy? Talk to me. All of them.
The voice echoed all around, but George still could not see the source.
They take my power. They work me so hard. But are they grateful?
Flinched George. The air had suddenly grown much hotter. If his driver wasn't in an insulated suit, he would have been well beyond roasted.
We gotta get out of here, George. I'll fry. Hell, you'll melt. Not yet. Not without him.
The driver still did not know to whom George was referring, but he knew by now that he could never control the roller. He also knew that George had never failed to finish a job, so he let him work.
My name is George,
he said slowly.
I'm a steamroller, and I fucking hate this island too.
The sweltering heat wavered ever so slightly. The smoke lightened up.
You too?
The voice hissed.
You kidding? I despise it. Oh, I hate the people, the stupid automobiles, the buses, the lorries, the fire trucks, and the engines. I can't fucking stand the railways.
The smoke grew thinner by the minute. George could just barely see through it now. He had thought he was in the middle of the corridor, but he wasn't. He was at the end, staring right into a gigantic barrel. There were two huge, round portholes through which he could see a malevolent inferno raging. It flickered, flashed, and every few seconds, a waft of black smoke would cloud out the glass. Every few seconds, the portholes would blink. He was staring radioactive core number 5 in the face. He was speaking to him.